Welcome back to the channel. Today's actually a mystery. I didn't put what we're making on the title for once because I wanted you guys to not know. It's actually a themed type project because Halloween is coming up and we're gonna make something out of a pink shirt. Not really a Halloween color, but it could be because we love pink around here. And a purple shirt. What are we gonna make? I'm not gonna tell you. You're just gonna have to watch and see. Let's get into it. Here we have our plain, unassuming pink shirt. What are we doing with it? Well, we're going to cut out one of the booby holes.
No, we're making something.
If you watch all my videos, you might have an idea of what we're doing already, but I'm gonna assume that you haven't watched all the videos, and for right now, it just looks like we're drawing a bunch of shapes and pencil on a pink t-shirt. And you know what, you'd be right. Here are a bunch of shapes on a pink t-shirt. Now one is cut out. What's gonna happen next? Sewing. Let's turn it inside out so that the sewing part is on the inside.
It's really long, so it's gonna take a minute to get the very tip of this thing out of here. Come on already, get out.
Okay, we're done. Now we're going to stuff this little shape with some actual stuffing. I like to use leftover clothing that I've made stuff out of or mismatched socks. But I had this stuffing already and I figured, well, I might as well use it because this is a stuffing project and now it's stuffed. Let's sew up this end. And now we're just a little bit closer to knowing what this is going to be. This thread is embroidery thread, so it's a lot smoother. It shouldn't get tangled. Look at how smooth it is. So smooth, and there's a knot. It's almost like because I said that it was smooth, it just got into a knot, and I can't get this out. It's not coming out. I'm just gonna have to deal with this off of camera. Because I am not great at using a sewing machine, I always mess it up. I thought it might be a good idea to use my love of embroidery to make these lines and then do like another stitching over. So the yellow is just like a guideline that I've put on here to keep my loose embroidery stitching straight. So this is like a back stitch or a outline stitch for the outside, and that goes on here before. And I'm cutting up this aluminum foil because these scissors are not very sharp. I've tried them about 1,000 times. Look at that. Oh, so much better for 2 cuts, and then they're dull again. They're my giant scissors. I need some new scissors. This is like a reoccurring thing, or more aluminum foil at least. Come on, baby, you can get it. I gotta cut this out so I can do my other stitches. We'll come at it from the other side. There we go. Just keep going.
It's a shirt, for Pete's sake. It shouldn't be this hard.
Okay, now I'm gonna cut these little sides. I'm gonna fray them, sort of, so that it's easier to flip this inside out after I'm done with the next set of stitching. So this is the embroidery thread. It's going to make my stitches a lot closer together so you can't see the yellow when you turn this inside out. I don't know if any of you have watched one of those videos of like machines making crayons or ice cream or something, but it's like repetitive and mind-numbing and soothing. That's what watching this super close-up of sewing is doing for me. So soothing. So this is what it looks like when it's done, and let's move on to this other part. Have we figured out what this thing is yet? This is me just showing you from far away the sewing maneuvers, but we have all of our pieces. They're ready to go. Let me know in the comments if you figured out what this is going to be yet, because even if you think you have, I don't think you have. I don't think you have any idea what this is going to be. And now we have
Leggies!
after that one arm, and then there's 2 arms.
It's working in the camera.
I think Chica's excited to show you what it's gonna be.
Fun part, painting.
Oh my gosh, what even is this? Is this like an old lady with like a bob haircut? Why is it white on her face? I don't get it. Oh wait, yeah. It's an old lady with a bob cut. I figured it out, everybody.
What's happening now? It's too weird. I don't get it. What's this even gonna be?
Oh wait, hold on. This is starting to look like something. What's this space right above this white picket fence?
We're starting to fill in the top part too. This is like the most horrifying this thing looks throughout the entire project.
Okay, this is starting to take shape now.
Some of you may have remembered that at the very beginning I gave you a hint. I said that these projects today are going to be Halloween themed. We're getting a shape over here on this other side, if you hadn't already guessed. This is a
skeleton first.
because we're making a skeleton. I do not like how big that clavicle turned out. You can't really go over it with fabric to make it smaller like you can with paint. Let's get these arms on here. I'm doing a detached type skeleton design. This back here is the tailbone that I'm painting in right now, in between the hip bones. And this front part is actually the way that the front of your tailbone looks. It's not what you think. Let's go back up here and get the next part of these arms. We've got a radius and an ulna. The radius is the one closest to your thumb, guys. You already knew that. Paint this little guy in some metacarpals. Those are the teeny little bones in the hands that connect to the carpals, which connect to the those are the bones in your fingers. I won't subject you to a whole repainting of every other side of these bodies, but do know that this is being painted and you can see this hand getting painted as evidence. I do not know what happened to the top of this femur bone. It's connected to your hip, but there's just one bulge. It's not a long stick like that. Looks like I need to
Bone up.
on my terms. So this rib cage is supposed to be like the coolest part of this design. How do I know that? Because I made one of these skeletons about 10 years ago for my daughter when she used to be obsessed with skeletons, and I loved the design I made. This one is just a little wonkier. I made the torso a lot skinnier, and these ribs are not going on great. The paintbrushes that I was using for this, they kept making the lines so fat even when I needed just a little tiny dot. So I thought, let's just draw it on with a Posca, have a nice thick line to follow, and we'll have no problem, right? We've got the Posca on. It's just kind of soaking into this, which is weird because it's supposed to be acrylic like the paint that I'm using. Yes, I'm not using fabric paint. I want the acrylic paint to dry crusty. The ribs being painted is the last part, and now we are completely done with our Halloween stuffy skeleton. What is its name? Cecilin! That's what my daughter used to call skeletons when she was little. It was so cute, we loved it. Little Cecilins. This is the one I made for her 10 years ago, and this is our new one. There are some things I like better about the new one, but I still love the old one best. Next up is our purple shirt. Gonna use some more kitchen objects to make my shapes on here. The skeleton arm stencil came in handy for making straight lines. This shape is pretty recognizable, so you're gonna figure out what this is probably before we get too far. And now I know why that bottom piece was so crooked. I was doing all of this from the right hand side because there was a cat in my chair, so I couldn't look at it straight on. Let's see what happens when I decide I'm going to use this round part of the skeleton's arm for the bottom of this object, and then realize that it's a little bit too large for the amount of space that I've given it. Everything's going fine, up and down, get that one piece, and then all of a sudden, wait a minute, it can't go up on the end. What will I do?
We'll just have to make it bigger.
Extending the top part was a little trickier. It was in a round space. How do I make this bigger? It's gonna have a big old bulge on one side. It's a good thing I don't take the time to measure anything, or else I'd probably be upset that I had to mess up my measurements. So I'm back to sewing the outline again with the yellow thread. I was a little bit worried that I hadn't pinned this one beforehand like I did with the skeleton, because the shirt can get bunched up and then you're not going to have a smooth surface on the other side, even though it looks smooth on one side. But this shirt stuck together so well that it worked out. And now we're ready for the pink thread, the real securing thread, and I've frayed all the edges for turning it out inside out where it curves. So let's get that done. Coming through. This is always a little nerve-wracking, like you're gonna rip the stitches. It looks like a little hat now. Left this little corner open so we could stuff it. I was planning on using leftover socks, but they were so coarse and this material for this t-shirt was so soft. I just used the very last of the real stuffing and then found some cotton balls to do the rest so it would stay squishy and soft. Have we figured out what this shape is yet? We will in a second, because it's gonna be time for paint. Yes, I am starting out with white again, but that doesn't mean it's gonna be the only color. There's gonna be a few more colors on this one. Do we know what it is? Have you figured it out? Is it just me, or does it look like I'm wiping toothpaste all over this shirt? This is kind of what it looks like when you get toothpaste on your shirt after you've brushed your teeth. Now that we've got the outline secured, we can start filling it in. Oops, I got out of the lines right there. Let's crisp this up just a little. There it is. Thank goodness it's not hard to find white acrylic paint, because this is taking a bucket of paint. And this is only the first layer. I also paint over this again after it dries, which I spare you guys from because we're gonna get to the really fun part now that this is completely covered. Ditto! Pokemon, anybody? Yeah, I'm not leaving those teeny tiny creepy eyes. It could be cool though. I might think about using that for another design sometime. These Halloween characters are gonna be cute instead of creepy, but doesn't mean I might not do a creepy one in the future. The fantastic stiffness of this acrylic paint made a nice smooth surface for painting with these Posca pens. It did get stuck a little bit. It was a kind of gravelly, which you'll see when I switch to the white. Yes, we're pulling out all the cute stuff, and oh my gosh, you guys. Because of the texture of this paint on this shirt, I was able to blend. I think I did it. I finally did it. This mouth was cute, but it doesn't really capture the spirit that I was going for in here. So we're just gonna do a wide mouth, wide open, to show the wonderment and the happiness, the pure joy and happiness. Let's get that tongue real red. I'm not gonna color the bottom all the way because the black was not dry and it was starting to smear into the red. So while that dries, let's switch to
the eye shinies.
These are gonna be my shiniest eye shinies ever. I want them to sparkle with this white. Since the little tip is kind of tiny, it kept getting caught and splashing. You see how it's getting all over the place, and I had to make it too big, but I'll go over it again with the black because after these shinies are on here, this guy is done. Here's my little guy. He's pure happiness in ghost form, so I'm going to name him Drew. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all next Wednesday. Right now, it's time for your treat.